On today's episode of the Slight Ed Experience podcast, today we are discussing the purpose in your business, how e-commerce can help you with your creative branding. And our guest today has found her voice and her pathway in e-commerce. She shares her life journey on how she has managed to submit to her truth. Please welcome to our show, Samantha Merissa. Hey.
Hey, how are you?
What's going on? I am so excited to see you. It has been a really, really long time.
Yeah.
And I've been waiting and waiting for this moment because you and I actually met in Florida. What was it in June? Kind of, I think it was
Yeah, it was
June,
in
right?
June. Yeah, mid.
And I've been following you on IG and I've been seeing your progression and I'm just like, you know what? It's time to have her on the show. I want to see what she's been up to. So tell us about, who you are and what you've been up to.
Okay, yeah, I know. It was nice seeing you. When you reached out to me, I was like, oh, that's so it was so nice. Yeah, so I'm Samantha Merissa. I'm from Toronto, Canada, and I actually met you at the event at Myron's event. So it's been a good journey so far, honestly. For the last 6 months, just starting up my business. I've been trying to figure out a brand and figuring out like what I want to do within my business. Corporate wise, I work in HR, and then business wise, I started my new e-commerce store, and it's called 22 Strong, where we sell affirmational t-shirts right now that have positive affirmations to kind of encourage people, like, when they put their shirt on so they can feel empowered in the mirror, throughout their day. And I wanted to create that because not all the times you have people around you that could say positive things. So maybe when someone wears their shirt, it will just empower them within themselves. So that's kind of
Wow.
the
So
brand.
22 strong. You said that, so why name it 22 strong?
Yeah, so okay, so when I started the business, I called it SMW Designs because it was just my initials and I couldn't think of a name. But like in my spirit, I was like, no, that is not the name. Like I don't know what it was. And it took me about 9 months to think of a proper name for the business. So the reason I came up with 22 Strong is when I was in Barbados. I was at the gym actually, and I was like listening to DeVito's song. It's called like Stand Strong. And I was like riding on my bike or whatever, and I just like had a breakdown. Like, so I was like, and I said, okay, my business has to have something like that empowers people to be strong. Like, I didn't want it to be like, even though I'm talking about mental health, affirmations, like positive thinking and stuff, like at the end, when you like express your weakness, I still want you to feel empowered. So that was, I was stuck on that name. And then my sister who passed away in 2018, like she had depression, so I lost her. She died by suicide, and she died at the age of 22. So it was one day when I was like, I'm gonna name this business 22 Strong because of that song and then of my sister passing. And I actually thought of the name on September 22nd, which is like so random. So random. Yeah, on September 22nd. So like that day when I thought of it, I like went to see if the domain name was taken or if it was available, and it was available. So I just came up with that name because even though the shirts had affirmations on it, I still wanted like a consistent name. So that's why I called it that.
I love that. Oh my God. And I'm sorry for your loss about your sister. I never knew that part of it. I know when we met, you said that you had been going through a lot. You didn't go into like the full details at that time, but I feel like you sharing that small piece about it was definitely divine because she was 22 and what you are accomplishing now. I love it. I really do. I think, and then it was on the 22nd day of that month.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was,
So
and yeah, when I did share that with you, like I went through my own stuff and it was around the age of 22. So, because it's kind of like a very pivotal time in, I guess, young people's lives because, like, you're trying to figure out your life. You may finish school or still in school. I still was
Yeah.
still in school. Like, I had a lot of depression at that age, so I kind of look at it as like that age where I like transition, and I kind of got to live longer, but my sister didn't get that opportunity. So that's how I kind of came up with the
So
whole thing.
is that more so like your key factor on why you talk a lot about mental health because of her?
Um, well, yeah, I talk about it a lot because yes, because of her, because of her. Especially because my sister was someone that you would never think would ever die that way. So like it really shows you how your brain is like I look at it as your brain is clouded. So when people are like, "Oh, like how do you pass away? Like how did they take their life?" Like you don't know what's in their brain and they can't think clearly. And I wasn't as, educated on mental health. Like if that happened now, I would be able to speak and talk and help. It doesn't necessarily say you like everyone's going through their own thing, but that's really why I talk about it. I talk about too because I experienced it, and I talk about it because a lot of people hold themselves back because of their own mental health or even stress or overthinking or fear or doubt. So it's not just like mental health because people just think of it as like having a mental illness, but they're not thinking like of just your everyday life and stress too. So
Yeah, I think it's very important to have a daily conversations with people, especially your loved ones, because you never know what someone is going through. Like you said, at such a young age, you're trying to, navigate so much. And I think social media also has plays a huge part in a lot of things right now with young people, especially our teenagers. And I talk a lot about it as well, and just making sure that because I do a lot of consulting and coaching with high school students, and the depression is real. And I think sometimes just to, do a quick tap in, like, hey, are you doing okay? And sometimes they don't want to share it, but
mhm.
as if you're aware of different signs and if the body language isn't right or the moods are, shifting often. So it's definitely something that needs to be talked about more, especially in the African American community.
Yeah, and definitely with the body language and those kind of things, because I think with like my sister, there were signs, but we didn't know because it was like you thought it was a part of her personality. Like you thought she was just shy or she was just quiet, but it was
Yeah.
actually like that was her kind of hiding it. And it kind of manifests during high school, but we like you didn't know. And like, yes, people say like, oh, just talk about it. And but sometimes people don't feel comfortable and they don't want to like they feel like people will judge them or they don't want to be a burden onto others. So they
Yeah.
kind of like try to figure it out in themselves, but then it eats them more alive. And I find that when someone ends up like taking their life, it's like they end up becoming so hopeless that they have nothing to like look towards. So like I look at it as I look at my shirts as like if someone felt like low self-esteem or they felt like taking their life, like maybe if they saw the shirt or they saw something in their house or their environment, it could just change their decision into something else, like as a
Yeah.
reminder. So that's kind of how like I'm approaching it. So getting my messaging right and everything like that, but that's the foundation.
I like that. So how have you been since then? Like what did you do? Because that took a toll on you internally. So like tell us about like how you actually manage the grief, because I've had my losses and I know how I handle it, and I was 12. And that could change you. Like it changes something about you and you're not quite the same after something like that. So how did you deal with that?
Yeah, you are not the same. Like I will never be the same. Like, yes, I'm smiley, smiley, but the thing is how I look at it is sometimes someone could be so smile happy and then like this is their behind the closed door look, so you never know who's going through stuff. So for me, I went through a hard time actually. Like I would say like it's been 6 years. It's almost gonna be 6 years in February, so it has taken me that long time to grieve. What I did is I ignored it for like a few months. I traveled and then it hit me. And then I went into like my own depression. I had to like go to therapy. So I always tried to like find therapy through work, I went to therapy through work, through school, just to kind of talk it out and understand that grief, because like the guilt or like feeling like you didn't help, like that will really attack you. I
Yeah, yeah,
so yeah, I had to like journal. I had to give myself time to heal and not like, which took time. I had to like take care of myself. And I kind of had to like pick myself up. Like I had family and support and stuff, but if I didn't seek help, I don't know, I don't know where I'd be. I also
yeah.
did like in my community we have a suicide survivors group. So I did like they had like a few weeks workshop that I went like every week. So that kind of helped me as well, talking to like other suicide survivors. So I kind of felt like I was a bit lucky, because I got like I would say a year with my sister, because like she attempted like the year before, and then like I got a year to like help her and like, so I kind of thought she was getting better. And it was like funny because I think the day before I was like, yeah, like she's doing good. I was talking to a friend. I'm like, yeah, she's doing good. She's, I'm happy for her and stuff. And I find that a lot of young people stress through school with when they have mental health. So yeah, so I had to seek help. I
Yeah.
it took me many years to get here. Um, and I think now I'm a bit stronger where I could talk about it, but before I couldn't talk about it without like bawling. Yeah.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Interesting. I thank you for sharing that because I know that sometimes it is hard. And I actually just had that same conversation in one of my sessions, and with a group, and I said the same thing. It's like, even I'm so much older now, and again, I lost my mother when I was 12. And when you start actually sharing, especially people you don't know and strangers, you start realizing like, oh, I really don't think I was actually over that. And now when you start talking about it a little bit more, because as an entrepreneur, you're taught, tell your story, right? Share it because you can actually help someone else that is either going through the same thing or trying to overcome whatever you're trying, what you've already been through.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until that point where I started talking about it in my coaching sessions, and where it I felt a certain type of way about it. So I was like,
Mm,
maybe I know that you never forget. And sometimes it takes, year after year, and you progressively get better, and you try to keep yourself busy, and things start to happen to where you're okay, but it never goes away. And when the more you start talking about it, yes, it can be therapeutic, but
mhm.
for me, I started realizing that certain parts of my story and my journey, I don't think I've quite healed from it yet because I was still tearing up, and I'm over 40.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. An event can help. Event can something like any little thing could
Mhm.
trigger you. Like when I was
Yeah.
coming up with the business, it was a trigger. Like because I had to dive deep and I was able to like I had a mentor that helped me come up with it. To like dive deep to come up with it. But for the long like I would say like it has taken me like 3 years
Yeah.
to like the first 3 years I would say it was more like grieving, like accepting the loss, like finishing school. So finishing school was like my last 2 years was like extremely hard for me because it's like you're grieving, your brain is going mental, and you have to focus and study. So that was
Yeah.
very hard. Because I'd be in school like crying, like like those kind of things. And then I feel like the last 3 years has been more of like me trying to figure out what I want to do, my life, like taking care of myself, like my purpose. So that's kind of what I was digging deep into. So now I'm kind of like where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. So I mean, and I think that's where I thank you for sharing once again, because I know that the story and the journey is important to where you are now. Because had not unfortunately you've gone through all of those things, you may or may not have actually gotten to this point. So 22 Strong is here. You basically have started your business. But you and I met in Florida. It was just still an idea, something that you wanted to do. So how did you? Are you said you're still working? So are you? Because back then you were still working your 9 to 5. Are you still working your 9 to 5 and doing the
Oh
t-shirts?
yeah. So I remember, okay, yeah. So when we met, I had a job actually. I was working as a recruiter and I had a contract. And then like that May, I just was so over the job and I like barely, yeah, I was so over it. I was like, Lord, like I can't deal with this job. So like the day that I wanted to like end the job, they actually like called me and was like, oh, we're ending the contract early. So I was like, yes. So then it was so like when the woman called me telling me that she's ending my contract, I was crying on the phone because I was so happy. It was like
Oh,
that because I knew that I had to do stuff in June. So I was on this thing. So then like I booked the trip and I actually booked the trip for Myron before that. So I was trying to figure out how I was gonna finesse it. So yeah, so I was working part-time and I had a full-time job. And then now I'm just like I was just part-time remote. So that's kind of what I was doing when I met you. And then that's what I've kept throughout. And then I've done like a few contracts here and there, like in recruitment, but mostly I have like a part-time job that I do. And then what was your question?
so you were working the 9 to 5. You basically got let go, and you were actually on the next journey when you said yes to yourself by going to Marin's events, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So my question is, if you were that miserable, why didn't just say, you know what, it's just not working, and you're gonna go to your next plan and just
Um,
go all in?
well, because when I had got that contract, like I was in Canada like in March and then I got the contract and then I went back to Barbados because I was living in Barbados at the time. So I wanted a remote job in Canada so I could work in Barbados. And I just had more income because my part-time job like couldn't really cover enough expenses. So that's kind of why I wanted it. So I had enough from when I worked the two jobs and then I just like took a leap of faith and like went to Marin's event. And then I went to Annetta Powell's event, which was a Wealth Connect as well. So I didn't really post that one, but yeah, I went there. That was really what great. So after I came back from those two events, then I printed some shirts and then I started selling them like to my friends and family in the summertime. So yeah, so that's kind of what I was doing after that. Mhm.
Okay. So would you say that you actually found what you were looking for at your event? Like
Um,
found your inner voice to say, you know what, this is I'm gonna go all in, or were you still like on the fence, like you weren't quite sure?
Yeah, so okay, so because before I went to the events, like I knew like I did the business plan, like I knew what I was gonna do. But it wasn't like deep enough to like what I was trying, but I knew I was searching for something, but I didn't know what I was searching for. So going to the events, like seeing the other entrepreneurs, seeing like getting the advice and everything, it made me like dig deeper to find more meaning into like what I was trying to do. And it kind of like helped me like know I had to work on myself. It helped me like it showed my weaknesses. It showed me like, whoa, I have a long learning curve, but it kind of made me feel like, I could do this, especially seeing like Myron's event was amazing to see so many Black entrepreneurs, especially in US. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like this is a thing, And it was just so amazing. So I was kind of like, in that corporate school and still trying to leave and figure it out. I'm still like, I'll probably still like get a job here and there or do something like if I need more money while I do the business. And then I think Annetta Powell's event was powerful too because like hearing other speakers, seeing other people, like meeting other people, I find the connections it really helped me. And then when I met all these entrepreneurs, it kind of put me into like, oh my gosh, I gotta change, like I gotta fix up. And I was fighting that for like a while. So yeah, it
Yeah.
was actually like it was actually good. Mhm.
I agree. It's something about being in that environment. It just does something to you, and that's why it's important to find a community, and find a coach, and just continue that, because it's like fuel to your fire. Kind of, it makes you want to do more. And I can't wait to the next one, because I am going. I definitely am going. So let's say that. So you have the shirt brand. So 22 strong. You said you went and printed them up.
Mhm.
And so walk us through, like, okay, so e-commerce, and why t-shirts? Like, why t-shirts and not something else? Mugs, hats, planners. I don't know. Why t-shirts?
Yeah. So I wanted to start off with t-shirts because it seemed like it was something that people could wear and you could see it visibly. So it was more so about people putting it on in the mirror and seeing themselves through the affirmation. And then it's also about when I wear it, you're going to read it. So then you're going to read the affirmation. So so then like sometimes I wear my shirt and I have to remind myself that I'm wearing my shirt. So when I'm like, people are looking at me, I'm like, why are they looking at me? Because they're reading what I'm saying, what's on the shirt. So it's just
Right.
more for the affirmation to kind of like be in people's like for people to read it and for people to see it within themselves. And then eventually like I do want to get into like mugs and journals, wall art, like those kind of things. But I'm just starting with one thing first, seeing what works, what doesn't work, and then going from there. So I do know it's going to be a longer journey because building the brand is like, oh, child, this is a lot. And building it through like social media is like when I started to actually do it when I had the website, I was like, okay, this is yeah, like people aren't just gonna buy from your website just like that, which I kind of got the hint. So I mostly like will sell in person or yeah.
And I was going to ask you, so how has your success level been with that so far?
My success level in terms of my website hasn't been that good. So I am like I'm getting someone now to like because I did the website like myself and I thought I couldn't do it. So it took me a minute and I was like, I gotta learn this. I'm like, if I don't know the basics of even doing it, then like when I hire someone to do because I had to get my vision out. So like
Yeah.
now if I have the vision out, someone can look at it and make it better so like
Yeah.
make it more professional and whatever. So I just think it just needs some like fine tuning and how it looks to make
Yeah.
someone want to buy. But I caught the drift. So yeah, and
Got
I
it.
haven't done enough promoting and marketing on my end because I didn't really. I was scared to share my story. Like I've
Why?
heard, I just didn't want
Why?
to talk.
You just
Like
didn't
I
want to talk about.
No, like I just like it's like this like I kind of had like this fear like letting my like exposing yourself like talking about and especially as Black people we kind of keep our business to ourselves. We don't really be sharing. So I share things in a way that like will inspire people but to understand that like you're not alone because people
Yeah.
do feel like they're alone or like no one goes through this or whatever the case is. But yeah, it took me a while to share my story. Like I would say it definitely took me the whole of 2023 to share my story. And I didn't
Yeah.
get comfortable sharing it. Like I didn't actually start sharing it until like December, really till
Mm,
now, January. Like people
wow.
who knew me knew what happened. Like I talked about it, but until I did my website in the fall was the first time I actually shared like losing my sister, like what the brand's about. And I had to figure it out as well. So
Yeah, I think that was important, because I know when I met you, you were like not sure. You were that person that sat at the table with me. We ate and we had lunch together, and I just kept looking at you like, you can do this. Like, you can do all things. Like, just by you just saying yes to the event, everything worked out, with even with the job, was saying that you were on the right path, because things just don't happen. They let you go, you end up at the event, you start meeting people, and then you just need to continue your journey, because on the other side of the door is your happiness. It's going to be the success level that you're wanting. um so that's just keeps taking one step in front of the other. That's what I always say. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you're actually doing affirmations and t-shirts. I was like, well, are you actually printing them up yourself, or do you use like Shopify or something like that, or Canva? Do you do all of that?
Yeah, so I just have like I have someone do it for me, like an actual company that prints it, because I just find that they print better when it's done at a like at with the bigger machines, and I
Yeah.
don't do that. So yeah, because when I first, so actually I would step back. So after I left the Myron's event, like I went to Charlotte for like a few days, so I got my friend's friend to print, because she had a Cricut. So I actually got started and she printed like my first batch. So I got like 30 shirts, and then I took those shirts and then I sold them to my family. Yeah, when I came back from the events. And then after that, after I sold those 30, then I got an actual company like in Canada to print it for me.
Ah,
Because I the wording just I didn't like, because the wordings like they get crimply like based off of how it was done the first time. So when I used the machines,
yeah.
like yeah, they were better. So I've watched these multiple times and I've worn it, so I'm like, okay, like they last. So I know that the
I
words
like
stay.
I
Hmm.
like it. I like it. So, you're doing your t-shirt brand now, and you're talking about mental health. You're getting comfortable with telling your story. Are you working with a coach? Do you have a coach, or are you working with someone that you are like learning from, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so I have like a mentor that I was using. So we have like sessions where we like talk about the brand and stuff like that and actually like have deliverables. So now like I'm in the marketing stage and like the, I guess, putting myself out there stage.
Okay.
So I will be getting, I think, a different coach, but joined different I joined different challenges or different online communities right now, because I feel like I have like consumed a lot of information, but I have to do more action now. So until I get to a certain stage or generate more income, then I would want like another coach. So right now, I just like I'm a part of like the Girl Hold My Hand community. So that is more for like my mindset, meditation, like all of that stuff. So that's the stem of everything. Because when I joined that community, that's what led me to like Myron's community and Anetta's community. And then I'm also do the Wealth Connect. Anetta has an inner circle community, so I'm part of that one. I need to show up more there. And then she gives us like challenges every month. And then I posted a YouTube video and she's like, "Where's your YouTube video?" And then I got imposter syndrome and then didn't post. So I gotta show up more there. But her community is great because she focuses on skill set,
Yeah.
showing us like different skills. So that's what I'm doing now. And then I just signed up for Myron's like make more offers challenge. So it's kind of
Mhm.
similar to like our event that we did, but
Mhm.
about actually doing the work and the challenges.
Yeah.
So that's kind
So
of what I'm doing.
have you done the cold plunge yet? You know he's gonna do the cold plunge.
Yeah, the cold plunge was the ones was for today. So I showered in cold water. So I said, okay, I gotta, because I went to my bath. I'm like, okay, I gotta do it tonight. Because I didn't think he would do it. And I said, Lord, I don't think I've ever been in cold water. Because when we had it at that event, I didn't do it because the water was, remember the showers were like lacking?
Yeah, it was a little. I was like,
Yeah.
no thanks.
Yeah. So yeah, so right now I'm more so like in like executing on the things
Okay.
that I've learned. Yeah.
So it sounds like you're in the point where you're doing the thing, but you still need accountability because you still want to actually take it to the next level. Am I
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So you still like in the beginning, but not in the beginning because you know exactly what you want your t-shirt brand to look like. You're just wanting somebody to actually help you get it out your head and to make it a little bit better. Is that right?
Well, yeah, it's out of my head now. I would say it's more so about like actually generating sales, like actually having a proper operational system and all of that when it comes to like the e-commerce space. And there's a lot in e-commerce that I really like don't know about. So, and the
Yeah.
marketing piece I don't know about. So I actually signed up for this online course. So just to kind of learn and implement. So
I think I have a referral for you. I think when we're done, well, I'll talk to you about that. So fitness, you talked about as well, getting in shape and all those things. So I've been seeing that journey. You like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and get my work, my high growth summer long. So I mean, how many pounds have you lost, and you know, why was it so important to you for you to actually start that journey when you did?
well, yeah, so so when I was actually at the event in June, like I was I was looking at pictures, I'm like, oh, you're looking heavy. So yeah, so after I came back from Myron's event, I started to like exercise and take my health more seriously. I've already had like a health and wellness page that is called We Rock Fitness on Instagram. So I've been posting like my health and wellness journey like on and off, and I've struggled with my weight for like a while. So I was like, okay, like there's like a certain weight number I get to where I'm like, okay, we're done. So I lost 20 pounds. So I was taking like my health and wellness products. So like we have this 15-day kit at TLC. So I was taking like the tea, the vitamins, and like we have this natural energy supplement. And with that and exercise and like my accountability group, it has like really helped me. So like just staying more consistent on it, because I find that it helps a lot, especially like if you're going through like depression or like that kind of stuff, because it just keeps you like looking forward to doing something. It keeps you consistent to like taking something every single day,
Yeah.
natural. And yeah, so I've kind of like just been focusing on that. I still have more weight to lose, so I want that to be this year because I've been struggling with my weight, and it's just, and it is tied through everything. So like, which I had,
Stress.
which I had like a bit of reflection, just yeah, it's tied through everything. So I just feel like I need to shed just the pain. Like I feel like my weight is associated with all the trauma and the pain, and I just need to let it go. But it's not. It's funny because it's like a part of me doesn't want to let go, but it's like I have to. So it's like this back and forth battle.
You have
Yeah.
to let go to grow. That's what I say.
Yeah.
You
So
gotta let it go
I'm
to
letting go.
grow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because yeah, and I the thing is because like now that I came up with the brand, it's like I want like you have to be the brand, you have to look the brand, and if that's one of my things that is keeping me from being my best self, then
yeah.
I want to do that so I can feel more empowered to help people with whatever they're trying to get done. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. So does the tea work that you've been I know you like, "Hey, I'm taking this tea. Hey." Does it work? And then I mean, cuz I know sometimes when you get started, that it starts and it helps in the beginning, but when you continuously take certain things, it's like, okay, it's not working. But what do you? I mean, how does that work? I guess.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, honestly the tea works so good. And it's like I fell in love with the products again like during the Christmas because like I kind of took a break. And then I was feeling so like when you feel heavy in your body?
Heavy.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I'm like, man, I feel so heavy. I feel so inflamed. And then I started drinking my tea again. I said, oh my gosh, like this works really good. Like I called my friend, I'm like, this tea's so good. She's like, duh. I'm like, I know. But I didn't just start taking it in June. Like I have used the products since I've known about the products since like 2022. So it's just like if you take the products, they work. If you don't take them, they don't work. Like
Yeah.
that's what it is. So I wasn't like 2022, I wasn't taking them consistently and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I just like things that are natural, like helps me with my bloating because I have like severe bloating and inflammation. And it helps with that with them throughout my body. So, and I find that when I don't like I see the difference, like it's night and day. So it's like I know what it feels like to feel healthy, and I know what it feels like to feel unhealthy. And then it's like as soon as I start implementing my products, like I started back like these last 2 weeks, and I just feel so much better. Especially like now that it's winter time, like I'll get into like my own like overthinking, depressive state, that kind of stuff, and it gives me clarity. So
Huh.
yeah,
Gives you
and I've
clarity.
given like Yeah, so I've given the teas like to my because before I was taking it and my aunt, like when I went to Charlotte after I came back from Myron's event, I introduced my aunt to the tea and like the products as well. And then she's lost like more weight than I have in the past. She's lost like 50 pounds, like
Ooh,
from June till December. Like so when I went, yeah, so when I went to her house, I actually went on the scale, and that's when I was like, oh no. So then from that day, I was like, yeah, so we're gonna start drinking this tea. And I was like, yeah, so guys, so this is a tea, just drink it and let me know what's good tomorrow. Like that's what I did. And they're like, okay, yeah, we'll try it. And then yeah, from then, and we just started walking, and then from then, yeah, it was good. So yeah.
yeah, I like it. I think being healthy, healthy body brings a healthy mind, like you said. I mean, it makes you just feel better throughout your day, especially as being an entrepreneur. So now that you've gotten your feet wet, you're in the entrepreneur space. You consider yourself an entrepreneur, right? Um, I mean, do you feel like having a daily routine is important to make sure that your creativeness is there, considering that you are doing like affirmation t-shirts or I mean, what are your thoughts on that? What is your daily routine?
Um, yeah, honestly, having a daily routine like is so critical. And I think when I moved back from Barbados to Canada, I had to like readjust getting back because I had a routine there. So I had to adjust getting back to having a routine here, which was actually like hard for me, surprisingly. So right now my daily routine is I'll wake up, we have like meditation at 8 o'clock, so I'll do meditation with the Girl Hold My Hand community. I love to go to the gym like really early, like 6, but I don't, so I'm mostly like at a 10 o'clock kind of person right now. So then I'll go to the gym. Like I just came from the library. So sometimes I'll go to the library or I'll be at home. I'll work from home. I find the discipline, obviously, to keep yourself in your routine is obviously the hardest part. I'll do my part-time job as well, like during the day, and then like I'll focus on my business, maybe for like a few hours afternoonish time. In the evening, I sometimes have like I would say like workshops or like some type of meeting of some sort, like based on whatever community I'm in, like maybe a TLC meeting or a Wealth Connect meeting. And then I'll try to hang out with my friends sometimes as well. Everyone's busy because most of my friends have kids and stuff like that. And I just try to do the best, but I would definitely say like I'm still working on my routine, like, putting my phone down, like having a window. So I kind of got like a calendar. I don't have it with me, but a calendar to like write down my tasks for the day. I did find I was writing down too many things that I like tried to do. You have like too many things on your to-do list. So I try to like
Yeah.
focus 3 things, and then I'll say like, okay, let's try and get those like 3 things done. So that's kind of where I'm at in terms of my routine, and then planning
Okay.
social media in that as well.
So I have one. I want you to give some advice on 3 areas. So, which are the main areas that we've been talking about? Starting an e-commerce business. So, if someone is actually listening to this podcast and they're like, you know what, I am her, and you're just one step ahead of her or him, right? Give
Mhm.
some advice to that person. Like, where should they start to actually get their t-shirt brand done? So, give some advice on that, and then also as far as like the mental health capacity, if you're, like you said, staying with a healthy mindset, because even in the coaching space we talk a lot about having a healthy mindset. Everything starts with your mind, and now you're actually going in from your mind into the body. So because you're in that healthy space, everything else can be aligned. So give some advice to that person that is maybe struggling in maybe all 3 areas or one of those areas. What would you say?
Okay, big questions. So yeah, so number one, I will talk about like the business piece or like starting an e-commerce store. So how I got started is like I just started watching YouTube videos on how to like do different t-shirt. It was mostly not t-shirt, it was mostly drop shipping. So I was watching a lot of drop shipping videos, and I've done that throughout the time. So like this isn't something just new that I decided to pop up and do. Like during COVID, I would say is when I kind of 2020 is when I had the shift of trying of getting into business. I did like business in school, but like actually doing it in my personal life and being more creative. So definitely I would say like finding somebody who is a successful e-commerce person and maybe getting their like subscription or getting into their program to kind of teach you because it saves you some time. So like I know I will have to do that. Um and then doing your research in terms of like, okay, what company do I want? Like, do I want to do a drop shipping? Do I want to do my own brand? Because this is drop shipping, but it's also my own brand. So I'm putting my face out there. But some people have their own business where they don't put their face out there. I find that listening to Audible books help me as well. Like if you want to change your habit, if you want to think big, if you want to dig deep into like the creative side or something you want to do for purpose, I've listened to audiobooks or on YouTube or on Audible as well to kind of like change my like develop my mind because that's how I wanted to, get the business. So that's what I do like behind the scenes. I definitely would say like getting a mentor is good as well. And getting people to help you because we don't like help, but sometimes it's helpful. Uh, Fiverr is good too. Like if you need someone to build your website and you don't necessarily have that skill, like it don't waste as much time, I would say, doing it. And I would say doing things scared is important because our fear like holds us back. And sometimes when I have to post something or I have to share something, like I am fear driven. Like I'll have so much fear and then I'm like, okay, just post it. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm fine. So like doing things scared is important, and then understanding that it's gonna take like time and stages as well. And I think I had to do that too. So I've been watching like World Vision on YouTube. So they talk about like the realities of like having a clothing brand and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um that's what I do. So I'm like, okay, a lot of people they don't start out well, they don't start out crazy in their first year. The second year they get a little bit more. Third year is kind of when they seem to get more traction. So it kind of helped me to like not put myself down for not getting as much sales as I want or not putting myself out there as much as I wanted or like being scared to talk to people. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that was that answer enough or any more?
That's actually pretty good. You brought, and I know you're gonna get. We'll get to the other two, but you said imposter syndrome and being fearful, doing it scared. It's funny because I think even in the beginning of any business, when you're starting a business, everyone has that. Like, okay, am I still good enough for this? Like your shirt, am I good enough? And there's a lot of the questions in your head. I speak a lot about that as well because it's like you are enough. You have to get out of your own way and trust that God has actually given you exactly what you need to do the thing that you said that you want because He created you for it, right?
Yeah.
And it feels like imposter syndrome because now you're doing it on your own. So if you are, let's just say you got hired at a 9 to 5 job to do the thing. Okay, you want to make t-shirts. Guess what? You're now the expert in the t-shirt industry, but you're just doing it for another company. Now you gotta look at it. Now you're just doing it for yourself. So
Mhm.
people have to realize that and just do it anyway. Like you said, posting. I can say, okay, well, just post it. Do what you need to do. And don't you feel like once you hit submit, all of that fear that you created goes away, right?
Yeah. It does. And I started noticing it like when I start to do live sometimes and I'm like panicking and my heart's racing and then as soon as you press live, you're like, okay, hi, and you're good. Or
Because
like
you created it. You created the fear.
but you don't know and then you're like, okay, it was never that serious. Or for me, like even when I came back from Barbados and I came back home in September and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna get my brand started and blah blah. And how my last 2 months went, like it wasn't that great in terms of how I expected it to be. And I went into like another, I guess I wouldn't say depression, like more seasonal, because it's like I'm fighting the inner battles between myself, like trying
Mhm.
to change and develop and like lose weight and find a job and then start my business and then figuring out what I want to do and all all these things at one time. And it's like, but what I always turn back to is like the principles that I learned from the events, that I learn from YouTube. Like I watch Myron's videos on YouTube, I watch different other young people. So I just always consume myself um listening to other people's stories or listening to advice so I could just gear myself. So then sometimes when I feel down, like, and I still feel down, like, and it's funny because I said, oh, I need my brand. I need my brand. Like, I have my good friends where I'm like, no, it's not even joking. Like, I have my good friend, and then she's like, you're not showing up. Like, what? And I have like good accountability partners, and they're like, you're not showing up. Like, how many shirts did you sell? Like, why aren't you at the gym? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, I just don't feel like it. And they're like, huh? You don't feel it? They're like, you better get out. Like, those are my friends, and I said, you know what? I can't have a brand if I say I don't feel good enough, because I'm trying to encourage people to feel good enough. So it's kind of like helping me get stronger to help
Mhm.
other people. So I feel
Yeah.
like that's where the purpose is. And I really want to bring I really want to bring like a realistic like reality, like a space where people can feel safe. So I think that's where the piece was. But yeah, the fear is serious, but you do create it. But until you actually pass like the submit button, then you'll be like, oh, it was never that serious and nobody actually cares.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
you feel it, and that stops everybody. And I think the biggest thing I would say too is why everyone says like get into the environments, get into the spaces, because like you're not gonna know these things. Like you're not gonna know like if I feel down, like I'll listen to a personal development thing, I will read a book, I will journal, I will do something to kind of like click myself out of it. Or like sometimes I give myself like a time limit, like, okay, you could be sad for 1 hour. And then like I put a timer and then like I feel my emotions and then I get up, have a shower, reset, and yeah.
So do you feel like you're all in, or do you feel like you still, because you're like still with the part-time, the t-shirt, and you want to do the t-shirt full time, but then you still feel like you're obligated to do this other thing? If it wasn't for the other thing, do you feel like you would have more success in your t-shirt brand?
You mean if it wasn't for my job?
Hmm. Your job.
Um, no, no, my job is like remote, so it kind of
Okay.
allows me to have that stability actually. And I learned like really great skills. So until like I've made a lot more money, it's kind of like my stability where I'm like, okay, at least I know my basic bills are paid through
Yeah.
this. And I can kind of keep going. So right now I'm in the stage of like, do I want a full-time job? Do I want a part-time job, like to have consistent income, or do I just want to like, go with the business and keep it going?
I definitely think you need to use your voice more and tell the
Mhm.
story. I think the t-shirt is something that's going to allow you to continue to get out of your own way and your comfort zone. So it becomes a conversation piece to allow you to share more. And then you'll start realizing, oh, you know what? Yeah, the t-shirt line was something that's going to allow you to move forward in the journey. But the story is where your meat and potatoes is going to be. I'm just going to be honest with you, because I see it. I'm reading your shirt, I'm seeing your face, and I'm hearing the story. And I think it's the story. It's not the t-shirts. It's not t-shirts.
Yeah,
It's definitely
honestly,
not the t-shirts. And
yeah.
I know we're on the podcast, but
No,
I love that you're vulnerable. I love that you're authentic. I love that you're being transparent. And I said this to you when I met you. And I know you wanted, I want a t-shirt brand. Now that you've done it, and I'm hearing you and I'm seeing you in your beautiful face, and the number and the 22 strong, you're strong even in 22 years, and after 2022, and you're still going into 2024. And now I'm hearing the story even just from last year, and I think that's where you need to be. I think you need to fine tune that and find your community, and that's where you need to start. And the t-shirt thing is just going to be extra.
yeah, I've heard that a few times.
That's
I,
just extra.
yeah.
And I think because the affirmations for someone that is going through what you went through, and you're coming out of, that t-shirt is going to allow them to be okay in it, but at the same time, they're going to be okay because they're hearing it from you. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I don't want to get too deep. I know we're doing a podcast, but I
No,
I
it's not even
felt
get
I
deep.
felt strong I felt strongly to say it because you're in it, and I don't think you realize that you're in it. You're literally in it, and all you have to do is tap into that story, and you can do a full live one night, and we'll talk. But I think this what you're looking for is in your journey, and the
Yeah.
t-shirt is just the extra. And we'll talk about that. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for being vulnerable and transparent to that. I really do. I see the potential, and I see where you're going. I really do. And I've seen it then, but to see that you're consistent and you actually are doing it based off of just a conversation a couple months ago, that just says that as long as you keep somebody in your circle, you're doing the right things, the communities and all of that. But I think that your sister has given you exactly what you needed, which is the voice and the strength. And now you have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet and be okay with that.
Yeah. Honest. Yeah, and what you're saying is true because I've heard it before and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I don't want to and blah 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 blah. But then I'm like, if I can't be vulnerable and talk, then like how am I gonna tell people to be vulnerable and talk?
Yeah.
So and that's
Yes.
the same thing my mentor said to me because we had a call, I think it was in December, and we were like, so she's like, hey, how's everything going? So I was like, okay, I've done this, I've done that. So then I was like, yeah, like I just now I'm in the talking, like ready to talk. And she was like, don't just think that you're gonna be on this world to sell shirts. You could have worked at the Gap. Like she's like, if you get nothing from this, this is not what you're here for. Like
You
this
sell the
is
shirts at your own event. You can do an event and tell your story.
but from she first met me, she was like, yeah, so you're not doing coaching or speaking? I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm selling shirts. Like that's what she's like, yeah, okay. So she, yes, you got a coaching program. I'm like, I'm like, but I at that point, like I didn't feel like I was like, I'm not ready to like help people on that type of intimate level because I feel like I'm still, working on myself, but then I'm realizing, okay, like you're not perfect. So like at this stage, like I'm looking to like I haven't like spoken publicly only once at this women's workshop event that I did in our area. My friend invited me to, so I spoke about my products. But I haven't spoken to like young people. I haven't spoken to like university students. Like I kind of want to like go there. And I also realized like my shirts are for all ages because people who are older, like they're like, oh yeah, I want this shirt, and then people are like, oh, do you have kid sizes, or oh, do you have that? Like, oh no, I'm not there yet. So even I'm thinking like I can talk to kids about like using your voice or talking or speaking up or like saying affirmations because it happens at a young age. Like when my sister like told me like from grade 7 and 8 she was feeling like it slowly happened over that time. So it's not something that just happens like it happens over time, and
Yeah.
especially a lot of young people are going through stuff, and we never like we didn't get social media until we were like I don't know, high schoolish. Yeah, like that's
Hmm.
so they're growing up with social media now. And then the thing is like the stuff that I have learned on how to like deal with my emotions, how to like journal, how to like be like how to be an entrepreneur. Like I learned this through YouTube, through therapy, through online workshops, through joining Girl Hold My Hand, through doing all these different things externally outside of my home. Like
Yeah.
my parents are immigrants. Like they showed us, they brought us through school. Like, my family has grinded for where we are now. But certain things like if they didn't do they're surviving, like they built they built a life for us. So now it's for us to go do the other stuff, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah, you just actually gave me an idea. I'm gonna share with you offline. And I think it's like the perfect thing for you. But yeah, so tell me what's next for 22 Strong, for Samantha. Like, what is your next thing that you're working on, and where can people find you?
Okay. So the next things that I'm working on is more so, as I said, like being more on social media, putting my story out there. So I have TikTok, like Instagram, YouTube. So it's all pretty like fresh. My Instagram name or my social media name is Samantha and then Merissa. So it's Merrissa. And what I plan to do for this year is more so bring out the awareness, like actually see if I can go into communities or volunteer or like spread my story, like in the community and online as well, because I know that it is going to take time. And for the longest time, I felt like, oh, I'm not a healthcare professional. Like I can't really, you know, it was always a tipping subject, like talking to people about mental health and stuff like that. But I realized it's experience. Like the way the healthcare professionals go talk to you and the way I will talk to you about it. Like I feel like I allow people to feel safe to speak because I think that is the biggest reason why people don't speak because
Yeah.
they don't feel safe, they don't feel their business and that kind of stuff. So it's more so this year is about actually building my brand, learning like how to optimize my business as like its own entity in itself and then like putting myself out there to speak and talk and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you so much for saying yes to the Slide Experience. This has been another great episode of the Slide Experience, where successes lead you through education and determination. I am your host, Latasha Sly, and you guys take care.
Thanks. Bye.